So, next up, we have Keely Hyslop. And so, a few things about Keely. She currently lives in the Bay Area with her loving partner and their two malicious cats, Yoshimi and Dexter. She's lived near asparagus fields and naval bases and sunny beaches, and now she's here to tell you things she says to pirates. Reading from her first collection of poems, Keely Hyslop.
Thanks for the introduction. It's really cool to be here. I love this store. It's just...
You're too kind.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It brings out the best in people, too. I've seen a lot.
So I'm going to read the opening poem of my book, What It Is Like to Be a Woman Pirate. Believe that it is your luck alone that keeps the fair winds blowing, your swearing and cursing keeps the Royal Navy away, your sea shanties hold at bay the red sky morning. Believe that when Charon's boat appears in your scope, you will take the helm, forge ahead, away from the grim silhouette. Full sail, lads, let the wind fill her belly. Believe you will always make an easy escape. Charon is only an accident boat. You are a great man of war. A husband is a wind always blowing in the wrong direction. A husband keeps you weather-bound at port, buffeting your bow with expectations. A lover is a fresh breeze against your unfurled sails that lets you go free. A lover does not have a house for you to keep, nor a bed for you to lie in. A lover bribes the alehouse owner, leads you to the storeroom. A lover takes you to sea in a stolen schooner, invites you into his hammock. A husband is a contract you can break. A lover is an ongoing negotiation. I am the captain, but you are always the one giving orders, and the men obey you. Do they obey you because you are my right-hand helpmeet, a lifeboat headed to shore to collect supplies still under my command? I crush your whole body against mine when I kiss you. Cover your mouth with my own. I won't let you breathe until I'm satisfied. I ask you if you know that on this ship you are below me. Instead of answering, you climb into the rigging to trim the sail. You tell me you sense a gale is coming. Wanted, salty sea bitch, sea witch, musket-wielding buccaneer, scabrous strumpet given to swearing and cursing like a Jacqueline Tar, fearless female Tomineer who never turtles in a storm, tempestuous mermaid siren with extensive portfolio of seductive serenades and documented history of success in compelling sailors to wreck their ships upon jagged shorelines, wind-weathered lass who can handle a cutlass, sore-fisted scrapper, loose woman with a wanderlust strong enough to match my own unnatural appetites. You sleep with your fingers coiled around the handle of a loaded musket. I sleep with my hands coiled over your breasts. You tell me I need to keep a weapon close in case of mutiny, in case of boarding, in case the lookout is caught off guard. I tell you I am a light sleeper, good watchdog. I will wake you at the first sign of trouble, and you will protect me. So the first section of the book is called Letters to Anne Bonny, and it's a dialogue with a pirate in the 17th century. And it's kind of a mediation between what can be known about her life in terms of historical documents and what gets sort of swallowed into legend. So I'm going to read one of the letters in the letters section. Dear Anne Bonny, all the things I wish for seem to be things I'm ashamed to be wanting in the first place, so when I get them, I can't enjoy them. Have you ever had this problem? Have you ever run out your guns, intimidated a schooner into surrendering without a single shot fired? The passengers are wealthy and have hidden their gold in silly, obvious places. Have you ever won a good day's loot with little effort and then something strikes your sympathy? The tear the captain brushes from his eye, the way the countess's hands shake as she removes her rings, Suddenly you feel like a villain, a bully. Suddenly you feel like a pirate. The gold loses its sparkle and you refuse to join in the crew's drinking songs of victory. You drink your grog quietly, swallowing it quickly, trying not to taste it, because it is good to be alive and what you are, so good you are sorry for it. This one's called The Moral of the Outlaw. And it starts with the epigraph, Caput garut lupinum, which is from the medieval English common law writ of outlawry, which means, let his head be a wolf's head. The wolf's head becomes Anne Bonny. When the squall blows the cold sea spray against her face, the fur keeps her warm. It is good to have wolf sight, the better to see pursuing sails on the horizon with the night vision of her outlaw eyes. All outlaws are wolves in the eyes of the law. Because a wolf must have its prey, the merchant sailor becomes the deer in the eyes of the law. The pirate becomes the poacher, feeding on the tender meat meant for crown and country. By order of the crown, beaten by the press gang, tossed into the wooden world, does the deer ever dream of becoming a wolf with teeth as sharp as a cutlass, sharp enough to bite the officer's hand that flogs him? Anne Bonny's howls of fury, this the deer remembers, how they bit into the royal privateer's courage, her paws clapped in irons all the same. See, in the latter section of the book, it kind of moves away from the pirate imagery and does sort of an exploration of what it means to inhabit a body, and it sort of talks to different historical figures about the meaning of this. So I'm going to read Ella Fitzgerald Tells a Love Story. I remember telling my teachers back in Yonkers, I want to do something, I want to make something of myself. It made them smile at me and I'd smile back, but they didn't understand what I meant. I hardly knew myself. I always had an image in my mind of the thing I wanted. Then my mother died and my heart became heavy. They told me they had to lock me up on account of the heart. They had to beat out the heaviness until my heart became lighter. When they had beaten all the weight out of me, beaten away all of my sadness, I floated out of that place and landed at the Apollo Theater on amateur night. They called my name and I was afraid, but I was smiling. The crowd was jeering at me, asking, what's she gonna do? It was then that I named the thing I wanted love and began making myself into something they could love. Before I opened my mouth, I was only a mirror in my used clothes holding my empty, hovering heart. The heavy crowd, upon seeing its reflection, was ready to beat the heaviness out of me. I did the kindest thing I could think of, and they loved me for it. I blinded them with light. So I'm going to close with a couple of new poems that I've written more recently. So, This one's called The Lighthouse Keeper's Wife. And it starts with the epigraph. The wife of a lighthouse keeper once planted a small garden nearby, but with no success. As soon as the carrots sprouted, the wind blew them away. This is from the Point Reyes Lighthouse. I feel frightened sometimes of the blasted wind that whips across the cliffs. Not long after John accepted the post, charmed by the white picket fence, I thought this lighthouse could be a home like any other. I took my small shovel and worked the soil beneath the window that faces away from the sea. The soil was moist from the constant layer of fog that hangs about the shoulders of the cliff like an old maid's shawl. It's the cliff that frightens me, if you must know. That and the wind. Not the sea and not the lighthouse that looks like a cottage of light rising out of the waves as you descend the 265 rickety wooden steps installed on the cliffside to keep us from having to bumble over hill and dale to get to this station at the edge of the world. I planted tomatoes, pinto beans, lettuce, and carrots. I was thinking we're at least half a day's journey from town and I won't have us eating hard tack like pirates in a Louis Stevenson story. I could never fear the sea. My father was a fisherman. I can gut a rockfish faster than most wives can crack an egg. But this cliff, with the shoreline hundreds of feet below, John is always out on the roof fixing the siren, which must break at least once a week, if not more. It's always, "Catherine, fix me a cold lunch today. I've got to go up there and fix the siren. I don't know how long it will take, but it has to be done before nightfall, so eat if you get hungry. Don't wait for me. You're all skin and bones as it is, you silly girl." I don't fret myself when he spends hours polishing the lenses in the tower until they glisten like a lady's mirror. He's an agile man, that's an enclosed space. No harm will come to him inside the lighthouse. But when he crawls onto the roof with his toolbox and squats down against the gable with a wrench in one hand and a pair of pliers in the other, and that blasted wind stinging his cheeks red, it took the carrots. Woke up one morning to find the young things had pushed out of the soil. I fingered the tender shoots, but didn't harvest them. The carrots were small and tentative. I thought I'd wait a week or two for them to double their size. The wind ripped them out of the ground before lunchtime. I assume they sailed over the cliff. My John's up there now fixing that damn siren. You'd think the light would be enough to make the ships avoid the rocks. I cried that night, and there was no dignity in it. The wind was rattling the windows like some invisible creature trying to get at us. I wept as I had not wept since I was a small child, shattered to learn that my dog had not lived forever and my parents might not either. I cried until my nose dripped and my eyes were red-rimmed and sagging in their sockets. John, who is such a kind man, held me in his big awkward arms. He stroked my hair, told me, "They're only carrots. I'll buy you a bundle next week when I have to go into town." So I'm going to read one more. It's called The Lost Continent. If anything is going to rise to the surface, wash up on the shore, it will be the pottery shards, the remnants of a container. That which was contained will not survive the seawater, algae, and erosion process. It is impossible to preserve grain, cloth, and words on paper under conditions such as these. But in most cases, nothing will rise to the surface. If we utilize our sturdiest diving machines, if we encase ourselves in layer upon layer of metal and shatterproof plexiglass, we might make it to the sea floor to retrieve a few coins and cannons, to take blurry photographs of the foundations of houses, record our sonar readings to begin constructing a plausible model, a convincing recreation of the landscape as it appeared in the open air. When the expedition is at an end, when the funding runs out, we will be forced to admit that the past is a lost continent. We might fancy ourselves archaeologists, but really we are Atlanteans sailing in circles miles above what was lost. Were we statesmen? Were we criminals? We've forgotten we can remember. Thanks, guys.